It doesn't take much to trigger a child's imagination. You know what they're thinking. Every youngster goes through it when they visit an airport. Little Jimmy, he's the pilot, handsome in his tailored uniform, the leader, confident, poised, and ready to take the big jet anywhere in the world. Kathy, she's the airline stewardess, filling the traditional woman's role of caring for the wants and needs of the passengers. Dreams, well, we tell our children that dreams like these can be achieved with a little luck and a lot of hard work. For some children, perhaps, but it can never be more than a dream for Kathy nor Jimmy. Kathy will never have the opportunity to reassure an anxious passenger. Jimmy will never operate the complicated controls of a big jet liner. For Kathy and Jimmy are mentally retarded.
Welcome to That's Based. What a cold open. Can you scroll over so I can see my levels, please? I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground. We're laughing our way through the end of days and probably banned from 2 or 3 more platforms now. That's okay, though. We're brought to you by Outlaw Streamers, Chris Baker Radio, and Live 365, and our friends at drinkbloodofTyrants.com. If you use the promo code BASED over there, I hear you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. They have 2 types of wine, both red and white. And if you go to drinkbloodofTyrants.com and use the promo code BASED right now, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. They've also got the Liquid Freedom energy drink that you see pictured right over there. Liquid Freedom energy drink is 0 calories, 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 0 fucks given. Of course, they got to have 0 fucks given if they're going to sponsor a show like this. And they come from all natural ingredients. They give you all the upsides of energy drinks with none of the nasty side effects or crashes. And believe me, I've drank them, I've tried them. I really like it. I'm not a big energy drink guy. I'm a coffee guy, but compared to the alternative, they are so much better than Monsters. I drank them and my heart stopped skipping a beat when I switched Monsters for those for a little bit. DrinkbloodofTyrants.com with the promo code BASED. You'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. All right. Stockholm Mia, the red face of white supremacy, is back with us finally here on this Monday show. Is it good to be back? Or excuse me, Saturday show. Is it good to be back on the weekend show?
Yes.
Have you learned anything new since you've been gone?
Not really.
Nothing of value to the show.
Nothing of value to the show.
Nothing at all. Well, I learned something new today, and this is local news here in Omaha. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to change the structuring of the show a little bit and see if it flows a little bit better or if we should go back to the old way we were doing things. But this week, we are, instead of doing a lead topic, we're going to do current state of the left, then store brand TMZ. Then we're just going to hop into trending this week, and we're going to basically, in terms of which stories have been the biggest, report on those first and work our way down the ladder. So it's going to be one less segment than we normally do, but it should be the same amount of time. I'm just streamlining the process. We're going to see if that makes the show flow a little bit better. Well, we got this, but first off, we got this news here locally. This is in Omaha. Somebody sent me this, and I had to verify it to make sure this was a real headline and I wasn't being punked. But it says right here, 3 News Now, KMTV, Omaha. Blackstone Bar forced to change name as it violates Nebraska barber law. Did you hear about this? This is a bar in Blackstone, which is an uppity area of Omaha for those of you that are out of the area. And I don't like going over there. I used to like going when I was younger. It's not my speed. You know, I'm not even 30 years old. If I walk into a bar in Blackstone, I'm immediately one of the 5 oldest people that's not working at the bar. Not my play, not my style anymore. But so this says here, a Blackstone bar called the Barber Shop could face legal trouble for its name because it does not offer haircuts. The Nebraska Board of Barber Examiners has determined the establishment is violating state law by using barber shop in its name without a license to provide barbering services. I don't know about you, Mia. When I pay our absurd amount of property tax, and when I pay for sales tax every time I buy anything, or when I pay income tax to the state at the end of the year, I don't know about you. I'm happy that they're using my money to fight the real fight like this, the good fight here, to go after the tough issues that nobody else wants to tackle, but the things that keep us safe. I mean, I would hate for somebody to walk in there thinking they were going to get a haircut, and they walk out, blackout drunk. I couldn't sleep at night knowing this, and I'm just glad they finally decided to nip this issue in the bud. I don't think they should stop here. We should go after every bar in town with an ironic name. There's a bar off 90th and 4th Street called The Library, and I think we should shut them down too, because I'm worried that people might go in there hoping to check out a book on English lit, and then they get a beer flight of craft beers. It just totally confuses them. What about Beach House? Beach House isn't on the beach. Should we find Beach House as well? How far are we going to take this thing? How far? You know what we should do? We should open up our own bar and call it I, Caleb Salvatore, am a practicing medical doctor. That'll be the name of the bar, and we'll see what they do. I, Caleb Salvatore, am a licensed financial advisor. I'm not, by the way. I, Caleb Salvatore, am a licensed financial advisor. Everything you hear from me should be taken as gospel, and you should invest your money accordingly, LLC. That'll be the name of our bar. What do you think? That's...
You know what they should do?
What's that?
They should offer haircuts for $300.
Yeah.
So no one will ever actually go in and get a haircut.
But you got to get a barber's license.
They'll get one. They'll
Yeah.
hire a barber that's also, or they'll hire a bartender that has a barber's license.
Yeah.
So they have that, but they'll offer haircuts.
Which is very common. You can find those anywhere. Bartenders with licenses to cut hair.
I mean, a bartender that's just looking for something to do on on one night a week, So they'll offer it.
They could make it a spectacle.
Yeah, they'll offer it, but no one's going to actually go in there and use that service, but it's going to be offered.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, $500. They might be able to turn this into some good publicity, this government overreach. I mean, what a joke. They have nothing better to do with their time than go after a bar named the Barber Shop. Here's the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is you've got some guy who's in the Blackstone area and looks in his rearview mirror in his car and goes, I really could use a haircut right now. So since he's in Blackstone and the streetcar project has decimated that area, it would have done less damage to carpet bomb it. He's going to drive around for 30 minutes looking for a parking spot that's not going to be there. He's going to have to park half a mile from the place. He'll walk up to the barber shop, walk inside and go, oh man, this is a bar. What do you mean you guys don't cut hair? That's literally the worst thing that could possibly happen from this bar being named the Barber Shop. And maybe the guy will be a little aggravated and annoyed, or maybe he'll just have a good laugh about it and tell his wife at dinner tonight. But either way, no one's going to die. No one's going to lose money. Nothing. The absolute worst case scenario is this might be a slight inconvenience for somebody who doesn't bother to use Google Maps, but the local government's got to do what they do best and get involved here. I mean,
I can see my dad doing that.
I could see your dad doing that. Just walking in. He wouldn't say anything. He just looked confused. I could see that.
He wouldn't say anything either. He'd just walk in the car.
I could just see that look on his eyebrow raises, and he just looks around and just gets like that. He cocks the right side of his mouth up, looks around, and just walks back out the door. I could see your dad doing that. Absolutely, I could. Oh boy. Okay, well, like I said, we're changing up the flow of the show today. We're going to see how that goes. We kind of experimented with it when we had to do a quicker condensed show with Monty Scott last Saturday. Again, I apologize, which I don't do often on this show. I do apologize. I was off my game. I had a brick of General Tso's chicken sitting in my stomach. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't high. I wasn't burnt out and ready to quit or anything like that. I was convinced that I was dying. I was convinced that it was worse than just my food not digesting. I was worried it was like diverticulitis or something like that. But I'm good now. I haven't had anything. We had burgers tonight, so I'm good. Okay, so we got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to talk about this redistricting going on in congressional districts all over the country. We're going to talk about this Nazi salute craze that has taken the internet by storm ever since the Sydney Sweeney thing. And we're going to talk about the conservative female influencers are in the middle of a beef, a petty beef. Maybe they'll even take a page out of my book and throw some misinformation in there as well. We've got Mike Flood, a congressman. He's my former congressman. Mike Flood is in the news. Donald Trump is bringing back something very important to our schools. We've got the King of the Hill, speaking of things that are very important. The King of the Hill reboot, we're going to react to a cracked.com article on that. Some updates on mortgages, and then just something fucking disgusting that's come into the news this last week. And it's, yeah, we'll if we got time, we'll talk about that one as well. But first off, let's hop into the current state of the left, shall we?
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
All right, this week on the current state of the left, it's time to play our favorite game, which liberal most belongs in a mental institution. Remember the rules. All liberals belong in mental institutions, but by rule, one of them must belong in one more than the others. So we've got 3 contestants today. This first one comes, so you know it's election season. It's just like Halloween. Remember Halloween when we were kids? Nobody really started talking about Halloween until October 1st. And then when we got into high school, it kind of became September 1st. And then somewhere in like the late 2010s, it kind of became like August 1st. And then this year, I was at the grocery store on July 4th. July 4th, we walked into Walmart because we forgot our lawn chairs for a party we were going to. July 4th, we walk into Walmart, and they've got the Reese's pumpkins and Halloween decorations out already. So it just starts sooner and sooner. Election season's the same way. You start to get these text messages earlier and earlier. These midterms aren't going to be for another year and a half, year and 3 months. And we're already getting text messages. People are announcing sooner than they used to. It's just prepare to be annoyed about elections and totally burn out on politics year round. That's no longer going to be a couple months out of the year during even years. But we've got this campaign text got sent out. Check this one. It's just an image here. This is a campaign text in Massachusetts. And this is one of these automated bot texts that they send out to thousands of numbers in the district. Here's what it says. Austin. So the person who got this was obviously named Austin. Austin, I'm trans. What a way to sell yourself right off the bat. I'm Beth Andreas Beck. I'm non-binary, agender, queer, a software engineer, and yes, I love how a software engineer is thrown in there. One of these things is not like the other. And this month, I announced I'm running as a Democrat for Congress in Massachusetts' 6th District. I love how she leads with what's between her legs. That's where we start. Not my qualifications, not what I'm going to do to make your life easier, not this is my view on X, Y, and Z, this is what's wrong with the country. I'm trans. That's what we start with here. That's where we start. You know, she kind of looks like a butch Keith Scott from One Tree Hill, who absolutely, Keith Scott had that bullet coming in One Tree Hill, by the way. Absolutely had it coming. No, I have a whole conspiracy theory about that. So that's our first contestant is Beth Andreas Beck. Our second contestant is, well, we hear all the time, especially after the election in November, about how the left needs to find their Joe Rogan. They need to find their Jordan Peterson. They need to find that guy who connects with young men, who reaches them and speaks to them in their language. It wasn't Tim Walz. They tried that, but I think they found it with this guy right here. Go ahead, check this out.
We are proud of who we are. We are proud of what we're like. We are proud of what we're good at. We are proud of who we are. We are proud of who we are. We are proud of what we're like. We are proud of what we're like.
It's got to be Bernie Sanders' bastard son, right? That's there it is right there, Mia. I think the left has found their Andrew Tate. Right there. That could be him. That's the type of guy that thinks Tim Walz is an alpha male. I mean, they post people. Look, I'm not going to make fun of the guy too much. I didn't really watch that full video. Now I'm kind of worried there's actually something wrong with him. Should we revert back to the opening clip?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong.
I saw about half a second of that guy.
Yeah,
and now I kind of feel like a dick.
definitely something wrong with him.
Well, he votes Democrat. That's what's wrong with him. But how much is wrong with him? He's conscious enough to get out there and protest on behalf of a political cause. He's got to be sentient enough, right? I mean, we're not punching all the way on the floor here at somebody with like Down syndrome. He might have some physical disability, but he's mentally coherent. I feel like he's fair game. I feel like if I'm not going to fight somebody, but I feel like if you can come on here and defend yourself verbally, I feel like you should be fair game. I don't know. Now, not everyone defends themselves verbally as well as others do. Some people, like Rico St. Cloud, come on here and they disagree with me and we joke and we have coherent arguments and spirited debates, but at the end of the day, we're still friends, and sometimes we bet Starbucks on politics, and I win, by the way. And then other times people come on here and they claim to be the Son of God resurrected. It just kind of depends on what type of lunatic, whether or not we're dealing with a lunatic. It really depends on that. So that's our second contestant, who I think we're going to eliminate just to play it safe from who belongs in the mental institution. This is the third one here. And this gal right here is very confident in her looks, and she's going to tell you that.
I just saw a video that apparently Republicans think that the people who are criticizing Sydney Sweeney's American Eagle jeans ad we're all just jealous of her. And I just have to say, from my point of view, I am not jealous of Sydney Sweeney. I don't have to be famous, and I don't have to peddle brands that are awful. Like, they're bad taste, like not cute at all. And I get to do that from the comfort of like my beautiful front porch, drinking my matcha this morning. And I get to wake up every day being me. And I like me.
Hopefully it's a sugar-free matcha. Which one of her chins do you think she likes the most? She's not jealous, though. Do you know who makes videos? Or do you know who's not jealous? The least jealous people on the planet are the people who make videos talking about how not jealous they are of other people. Look, I wouldn't want Sydney Sweeney's job. It's probably really hard to walk around with sloth eyes and your tits out all day. I wouldn't want that. With that said, though, it's okay to admit that she's better looking than you. Also, who are you to come on here and talk about bad? Look, I'm far from Mr. Fashionista here, but who are you to come on here and talk about bad taste when you're dressed like a 67-year-old man in Vegas? Was that not what that shirt was giving right there, as the kids say?
I think she was wearing pajamas.
Even better. Even better. So you're just the TikTok version of the people from Council Bluffs that walk into the gas station in their Cookie Monster pajama pants. That's basically it, right?
I think she's just jealous because she can't fit into American Eagle clothes.
That's what it. Does American Eagle not make clothes for the fats?
Don't know. I don't know how far up they go.
How far up they go.
Yeah.
I don't think American Eagle's tasteless.
No, they're I like American Eagle.
I have a lot of American Eagle stuff.
Yeah. I don't know how far up they go though.
No,
also, I guarantee Sydney Sweeney's porch has a lot better view than hers.
That's the one thing you have on Sydney Sweeney is your porch. Oh no, what's she gonna do in front of her heated pool? You know what I mean? Like that's I'm surprised. You know what? Give it up to the craftsman that built that porch though, because it hasn't collapsed yet with as much time as she's been spending on it. You know what I mean? I think American Eagle, American Eagle, I think that's the best pair of jeans you can get without spending an absurd amount of money on it. If they're a little bit more than what you're going to get at other retailers, but it's like American Eagle jeans, the Flex, Air Flex, I don't even know what they're called. I'm not going to pretend to. My wife doesn't dress me, by the way. No one said she did, but I've got personal things in private. My wife doesn't fucking dress me. I want to make that clear to anyone who might have a vested interest in that. But the American Eagle, it's like Air Flex jeans. You put those on and they're jeans, but they feel like you're wearing sweatpants. And it's the best of both worlds. You can go out in public, look nice, feel trashy. That's going to be our motto. That's been our intro segment. Stay tuned. We got Store Brand TMZ coming up next. All right, and before we get into Store Brand TMZ, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at Tactilian, TACTILIAN.com. With the promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show, you'll save 15% off your order at the checkout on gifts for the Patriot in your life. Tactilian carries clothing. They carry home and office decor. They carry accessories for your vehicle, even for your dog. Tactilian.com, TACTILIAN.com. With the promo code BASE saves you 15% off your order at the checkout. The best part is a portion of the proceeds are going to go to help build homes for wounded veterans. It was founded by a former member of law enforcement. Go support people that have similar values to us. Tactilian.com, TACTILIAN.com. With the promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show, you'll save 15% off your order at the checkout. All right, with that said, it's time to get into Store Brand TMZ. Justin Bieber! All right, this week for Store Brand TMZ, we got a couple different things to get into. First off, I'm seeing a TikTok trend go viral. Like I said, 4th of July is over, which means that Halloween season is officially started. And the TikTok trend that's going viral, or at least on my feed, and I'm seeing tens of thousands of views on this stuff, so that's close enough to viral for my standards. But the trend that I'm seeing is people my age, people who grew up in the late 90s and 2000s, are complaining that Halloween, and just holidays in general, but specifically Halloween, doesn't feel like it did when we were kids. And I see all this complaining about how everything's been corporatized and the trunk or treat and blah, 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 blah. It's just ruined the spirit of Halloween, and then that carries over to Christmas. And my favorite part about this is I'd be willing to bet 2/3 of the people that I've seen complaining about this are parents. And it's like, hey, I know my generation has a real problem with what some of us call adulting. I don't use that word, but I know that's the word they use. They have a real problem because they've been, they want to be coddled, and they have their parents go to job interviews with them and things like that. But with that said, you're the parent now. If you think that trunk or treating is bad, if you think that's stupid and it's killing the point of Halloween, which I agree with, by the way, take your kid to whatever neighborhood's handing out candy and have them walk up the street. Don't do this bullshit where you drive your fat little kids from door to door and have them go pick up candy. Am I talking about this shit too soon? It's just bothering me right now. Don't do that, because if you send that fucking kid to my house, I'm going to turn their happy ass around and they're not getting any candy. I did that last year, and then the mom got upset with me, and she rolled up to my door in her wheelchair and gave me a piece of her mind, and I was a huge asshole for it. But I stand on business, and I'll make those kids walk back and her roll up again this year, too. I'm standing on business. You pull up to my house and you make your kid, instead of making your kids walk the neighborhood, you pull up in a car. Your kids ain't getting shit. And I'm going to throw an egg at your car. We're going to start doing that this year. I'm going to start throwing stuff at you guys. Bring it on. I know the fatties aren't going to come back and throw stuff in my car. They'll eat the eggs before they get to my house. I'm not worried about that. Or they'll put them in cookies and bake them or something like that. What do you think, Mia? Should we bring the old versions of holidays back? I do agree with the sentiment.
Yeah, I mean, you mean with like walking?
Not just that, just the... Okay, perfect example. When you walk in and you look at the decorations for Halloween versus the decorations that we saw when we were kids, I'm sorry. The shit we grew up with was way better. Way better. Everything looks like it's been designed on some stay-at-home wine mom's Etsy store. Every Halloween decoration you see in stores, doesn't matter if you go to Walmart or Target or TJ, it doesn't matter. They all look like that. There's no fun in it. There's no creativity. Minimalism is killing creativity in this country. And I hate to make it seem like it's a bigger deal, but it really is. It's minimalism. When you look at the way McDonald's was when we were kids versus what McDonald's looks like now, it's sad. It's this like corporate Soviet brutalist hellscape. And I'm not even being dramatic. It's like if they took all, it's not just McDonald's, it's Burger King, Wendy's, all of them. It's like they took all of the fast food restaurants and all the things we associated with when we were kids, and they said, hey, let's kill everyone who looks at this as spirit. And that's going to be our architectural design. And that's what they did. I mean, so there's a word for it. It's called brutalism, right? Because people call it minimalism, but the way you see a lot of these places that have, quote unquote, modernized, it's called brutalism. And Eastern European countries, you see it a lot there because it goes back to the Cold War era and the Soviets. And the Soviets would do it for two reasons. They would build this brutalist architecture. Number one, because it was cheap and they're a communist country and they didn't have the money to pay for nice architecture and it would go up quick. And communism doesn't really leave a lot of room for creativity, despite what some leftists in a park in Portland might tell you. But the other reason they did it was because it stifled the human spirit. Because people were not inspired when they had, and they got depressed, and people who are uninspired and depressed are less likely to spark uprisings. So they'd make these people look at these just nasty, depressing, almost threatening buildings every single day, and it would crush their souls. Anyway, what were you going to say about the Halloween decorations?
Yeah.
I went on a rant there.
Well, I was going to say about Christmas decorations, specifically Christmas trees.
Oh, it's horrible.
I don't like how they're just so, like, people just want them to be perfect. Especially parents, like, they're so focused on making the trees look perfect that they don't do the, like, fun little ornaments.
You understand our Christmas tree looks like it's out of a Pottery Barn catalog,
No,
right?
it doesn't. No, because we get the fun little ornaments and put them on.
But you still make me hang up all the store-bought, and the colors can't be too close to each other. And...
Well, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, but like you're also supposed to have fun little ornaments.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like that's how it's supposed to be. Like, yeah, you're supposed to have like the regular ornaments on there,
yeah,
make it look nice. But you're also supposed to have like fun little ornaments on there, and then like parents are supposed to put like the kids' ornaments, like the homemade ornaments, and like make it look like homey and stuff. But I feel like a lot of parents nowadays want to just make it look not
like a Pottery Barn catalog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And they're all just like very minimalist, like you said. And it like, I don't know, just looking compared to like when we were kids, like our Christmas decorations, like it was very like homey, I guess.
And if you're listening to us right now and you're hearing this and you're like, I feel what they're saying, I feel the pain, and I 100% agree with them, guess what? You can change it. You can change it. You may not be able to change it for every family out there, but your children don't have to deal with this corporate hellscape bullshit. They don't have to have their souls sucked out of them by minimalism. You can do something about it. You get to do it. That's the great part about it, is you can actually affect this. When we come on here and we're going to talk about Nazis and communists and prostitutes and all these horrible things in the next hour here, most of you can't do shit about dick for any of those things. However, you can do something about this. So there's your call to action. Make Halloween fun again. How about that? Okay, so we've got a couple things to get into in Store Brand TMZ. I'm going to be quick with it. The WNBA has recently sparked a little bit of chaos. I know this is the most attention they've been getting ever. And the reason they're getting the attention is because 3 times as of this recording, you have had fans in the audience, up in the stands, throw a green dildo onto the court at one of the players. Now, we got a video of it here. Go ahead and pull this up. This is at Sophie Cunningham.
Oh, look out. Something just came onto the floor.
That's the 3rd time.
An object that just flew in as the free throw was being made.
They're not going to show it. So people are throwing dildos onto the court at the WNBA. And the first time, they did it once, and it went viral. People made jokes about it. They did it a second time, and the girl you saw there, she tweeted this. Go ahead, pull the image up. She said, "Stop throwing dildos onto the court. You're going to hurt somebody," to which someone replied, Red Bangarang on Twitter, said, "Stop playing basketball on the dildo range," which I found to be pretty funny. But so she kind of just like egged him on, and now it's become a running joke where people bring dildos to the WNBA game. How does the WNBA solve this? Do you have to set up the scanners like at the airport to get into a WNBA game and they look for all phallic-shaped items that you're bringing in there? I mean, are the players going to be exempt from this with their strap-ons that they bring in? Because we know most of them are lesbians.
I mean, if you really want to bring one in, you can just stick it up you.
Wear it and be or stick it up. Yeah, you can do that as well. So you could say you were trans and claim discrimination. I mean, because they have metal detectors when you walk into these games. Now, for most places, it's to prevent terrorism and other crime. At the WNBA games, they don't want you bringing a gun in to shoot yourself to get out of the boredom. That's the difference there. But terrorists only target high casualty areas, and we all know a WNBA game is not a high casualty area. But how do they stop this? That's the thing, is I really don't see. This is the most bizarre controversy in sports history, and I really don't see a feasible way for them to stop it. You can't start patting people down, feeling for penises. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. So what do? Besides just hope the joke wears out and runs its course. That's all they're going to have to do, is just stop giving it attention. Now, they can't control what people on Twitter say and do. I think the best thing the WNBA and its players can do is a hush order on this. Honest to God, I think a gag order is the best thing they can do, is just not talk about this, not give it the airtime, and hope it suffocates. Because, yeah, it'll be funny a few more times on Twitter, but eventually it's going to run its course and people aren't going to laugh, because you can only repeat the same joke so many times until it stops being funny. Okay, this next one, this is Lotto, the rapper. Lotto was in a jewelry store, and a jeweler told her that he would give her a discount on whatever overpriced bullshit she was buying, if and only if she could answer a trivia question for him, and this is how it went.
Hold on, these make me smarter. Hold on. I got you. Hold on.
Her glasses make her smarter.
So $2,000 off if you can give me right answer. Cool?
Okay.
The 45th president of USA and the 47th president of USA, they both have the same parents. How is that possible?
They both got the same parents. The 45th president of the USA and the 47th president got the same parents?
Yes.
How do the 45th president and the 47th president got the same parents?
It's a mystery.
They got the same parents because God made us all. And we all got the same parents. Because we not on the 47th president yet. That's why.
It is. You want to know the answer? So the 45th president was Donald Trump. And the 47th president is also Donald Trump.
Too bad.
So just rest assured, guys, while you're slaving away at your 9 to 5, and in many cases for some of you, it might be like your 7 to 6, working some overtime, whether you're, maybe you're working in an office, maybe you're on an oil rig, maybe you're working on cars, maybe you're driving a truck for a living. I don't care what you do. I don't. But while you're slaving away at your job, just know that idiot is making more money than all of us combined. All of us, myself included.
Stupid bitch.
Just rest assured that idiot has found a way to get rich. So many things wrong with it. There's your black pill for the day. You're welcome. All right, last one here for Store Brand CMZ. I have completed my quest. I've scoured the internet for my 29 going on 30 years of life now, and I have found the hottest woman on the planet. And this is a video of her and her twin at a rock show. And my God, guys, control yourselves when you see this. Now, the Lord of the Rings music from when the orcs appear in the movies was added on post-production. That was not what they were rocking out to there. Do you think that's a genetic defect, Mia, or do you think they did that on purpose? Is that like some type of cosmetic procedure they had to look like goblins?
I hope they did that on purpose, because then I feel kind of bad for making fun of them.
See, I figured, I mean, we're going on 3 years of doing this show. I figured you wouldn't feel bad for making fun of anybody at this point. I figured it would have finally hit you that it's not that big of a deal.
Well, if it's something they can't control.
True. That's twice now I've crossed that line. We're not even an hour into the show. So that's been Stormbread TMZ. Stay tuned. We got a whole bunch of fun topics to talk about coming up next. All right, and before we get into trending this week, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at Firecracker Farms. If you go over to firecracker.farm, not .com, .org, or .net, it's firecracker.farm. Use the promo code BASED. Like the title of the show, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout on hot salt. Hot salt's a combination of Mediterranean sea salt, scorpion pepper, Carolina Reaper, and ghost pepper. Hot salt goes great on everything. Firecracker.farm with the promo code BASE saves you 10% off your order at the checkout. We always talk about weight loss. We're going to talk about the presidential fitness test coming back in a little bit here. You need to stop with the sauces. Nobody wants to hear that, but you get that little packet of Chick-fil-A sauce that's like 300 calories with your meal extra. 300 calories for a little bit of sauce. You can negate that with hot salt that has 0 calories in it. 0 calories, still gives you all the kick and flavor with all your favorite sauces. And none of the downside. None of the downside. You will stop being giant, guzzling piles of lard like that girl we saw in that video that was telling Sydney Sweeney that she was tacky. Firecracker.farm with the promo code BASED. You'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. All right, well, we got a lot to talk about for trending this week. Thank you so much. We're doing a little bit differently, like I said. Thanks for your patience here. We're not doing a lead topic to kick the show off. Maybe we'll go back to that because you guys don't like it, but we're going to try it this way for a couple weeks. I'm drinking from my 9 Rivers Country Club members-only mug. Actually, I think this is Mia's. But I'm doing it since we're going to talk about the King of the Hill reboot in a little bit here. All right, let's get into the first one here. So there has been a redistricting is going on all over the country. Now, normally they do this with the census at the turn of the decade every year, but it's a little bit different right now. There's a lot of political reasons that people are throwing out and about for it. They're saying that it's because of illegal immigration and cheating and this and that. And as a Republican, as a conservative, as someone who voted for Donald Trump, I'm more than happy to call a spade and tell you the real reason they want to redistrict. It's because Donald Trump doesn't want to lose the House in 2026. That's all there is to it. And I agree with a lot of their reasoning for why they want to redistrict. I think the logic makes sense. I think Democrats, if you look at the maps of Illinois and the way the Democrats set Louisiana up, and California and Massachusetts and New Hampshire, it's horribly gerrymandered, to benefit the Democrats. So I think it's about time the Republicans start fighting back. Yes, of course, there's gerrymandering in Republican districts as well, but not near to the extent that you see in these Democrat states. For instance, states like Rhode Island, states like Connecticut, states like, I can go, the list goes on and on. 40 to 45% voted Republican in those states. Nearly 45% voted Republican in those states, and they don't even have a single representative in Congress. That's called gerrymandering. They intentionally draw the districts up among partisan lines. There's more Democrats in this neighborhood, so we're going to include this neighborhood in this little pocket of this city and this district and put the others there so that they can get more votes and have majorities in Congress. That's all it's ever been about. Well, the Republicans are finally fighting back. Now, the reasons that you're hearing from a lot of these Republicans is, again, something I agree with, not just that the Democrats have cheated, but the reality of the situation is illegal immigrants count toward the census, and the census is how we determine electoral votes and seats in the House of Representatives. So when people tell you illegal immigrants don't vote, we can argue about whether or not they do or don't. The reality is, though, They assist the Democrats by going to states like California when they say we're going to be a sanctuary state where we're going to give you free shit and you won't be deported. They know that when the Census Bureau rolls around and it's time to count up all the districts, that's going to help them. So they entice people to come illegally into this country, live off of the welfare benefits and break the law, and then they bring them into their states so that they can get more congressional districts. It's flat out cheating. And then under Joe Biden, you saw nearly 10 million people enter the country illegally in less than 4 years. So I understand they say, hey, we know there's been this egregious amount of bullshit. We're trying to correct. We don't want to count illegal immigrants toward the census anymore. Let's redistrict now rather than waiting for the census to come out so we can fight back against this. And yeah, in the process, we're not going to lose the House. It's politics. I'm willing to call it like it is. I don't think a lot of Republicans are. I think a lot of conservatives are out there dancing around. Well, no, this is just us fighting back. Two things can be true at once. You want to fight back because you've gotten screwed for so many years, and you also don't want to lose the House, which you're probably going to do if you don't redistrict. So what's going to happen is Texas is going to get about 5 more districts that are going to turn red. Florida's going to have about 5 districts turn red. Missouri's going to have a district turn red. Indiana could have 1 to 2 districts turn red, along with Ohio, anywhere between 2 and 3 there. Even Nebraska, we're talking about redistricting Nebraska to turn that second district that the Democrats love so much, that little blue dot, into a solid red one, which I've been saying we should do for a long, long time. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. You wouldn't have to worry about winner take all because it'd be irrelevant. It'd be R plus 10 if they include a significant amount of land north of Omaha. Not North Omaha, towns north of Omaha. So everyone's freaking out about this. And in Texas, that's the rundown. There's a whole bunch of nitty gritty we can get into. It's a 2-hour show. I don't have time to talk about it, and I really don't care enough to talk about it. But that's the lowdown on it. We've got the Supreme Court is now looking at something that came out of the VRA, the Voting Rights Amendment, which established congressional districts along racial lines. Now, congressional districts along racial lines, as you guessed, are only a one-way street. There's no one that has made congressional districts intentionally to benefit white people. It doesn't happen. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You have districts in the Deep South, Republican states, that should be dark red districts that have been intentionally gerrymandered and turned into Democratic districts because the VRA says you have to have X amount of racial districts in it. Well, the Supreme Court is finally taking a look at that, and they're saying, hey, this isn't fair. And in fact, it's actually kind of fucking racist. And there's a good chance that gets struck down as well, which could add anywhere between 15 to 20 seats for the Republicans. You see them in Alabama, you see them in Mississippi and Georgia. Texas has a couple of them. So that's something that could change rather quickly there. Again, I agree with it. It should have nothing to do with somebody's race. We want to talk about counties and district lines and all that. That's fine. But what your race is and which way you vote shouldn't play into it. I don't understand why that's even a controversial topic there. So there's a lot of chaos going on in Texas. Texas is where this all centers at. California's trying to do the same thing. It's going to be a little bit more difficult because they got to go to court. And Newsom said he's going to come out and redistrict. Mia, can you guess how many times he said goddamn? Over or under 5.5 in that speech? Over. Yeah, I'm going to goddamn redistrict the goddamn state, goddamn it. Goddamn Arnold Schwarzenegger can't say a goddamn thing to me. We're going to get more goddamn Democrats in the goddamn Capitol Hill. Schwarzenegger is opposing it. So it's just all types of chaos going on over in California. I don't think anything's going to happen in enough time. So Texas is where it's all centered. Jasmine Crockett, Rep Ratchet, our favorite congressional Democrat, is one of the people who will, in all likelihood, lose her seat if this goes through. I know, the horrors. What are we going to do without news clips like this to make fun of on this show for a solid 15 minutes every week?
There was a benefit to shining a light on what it was that they were trying to do in the dark in Texas. So unfortunately, we've seen our numbers fall now that they have these voter restrictions in place. But I do think it's important for us to have the conversation around the...
Or clips like this one.
And so I want people to see him and understand who he is. This is a person that has a problem with people of color, period. I don't care how many black MAGA out there with their hats. I want to be clear, when we look at who it is that he's kicking out of this country as people of color, when we look at who he always disrespects and says that they are low IQ, even though when you look at his cabinet, this has to be the most incompetent cabinet we have ever had in the history of this country. When we're talking about people that literally have the ability to drop bombs or order that bombs be dropped or make recommendations that bombs be dropped. That's how it works, and they literally don't know how to get the signal chat right. So we're talking about low IQ individuals, but so long as they say that this guy is their guy, and usually if they work for a certain news network, that's the only qualification that's necessary.
What is she talking about?
I've got news for the president. I am not going anywhere, no matter how many squiggly lines they draw in the state of Texas.
Well, you are going somewhere. If they remove your racially gerrymandered district, you are almost certainly going to lose. I love that first video there where she talks about the voter ID laws and how they've affected her. She points out, Mia, you couldn't hear it because I fucked up when I added it, but she points out in that video that when they put the voter ID laws in, she started to lose votes. And the Democrat Party as a whole saw their voter or their total voter share begin to decline. And it's like you guys are almost starting to get it, right? It's almost like there was something to the claims of electoral fraud. And when we started telling people, we actually have to verify who the hell you are before you can come in and cast your vote in this supposedly sacred democracy, because that's what the left tells us all the time, is that our democracy is so sacred and it must be protected. But we can't protect it by asking for your ID. We can protect your money in the bank by asking for your ID, much to the dismay of the older gentleman that was in line in front of me the other day that had an absolute meltdown because they asked for his ID. But we're not going to protect our democracy. It's actually a republic, but whatever. I'm not going to argue semantics. We're not going to protect our democracy by asking to see your ID. We're just going to take you at your word, because why would anyone ever cheat? It's not like you guys have polarized both sides of the aisle to the extent that they think every 2 years, if the other party wins, they're going to put them in concentration camps. Why would anyone cheat if they thought their family's life was quite literally on the line depending on this election? There's no incentive to cheat. None whatsoever. But I just love it. I love it. Yeah, when they started requiring people to prove who they were, we didn't get as many votes. Huh. I wonder why that is. This is the opposite. So when Tom Brady got accused of Deflategate, of deflating footballs, and it was such a even if he did do it, it was such a ridiculous, quote unquote conspiracy. It was such a witch hunt. And yes, I'm a Patriots fan, so I'm a little biased, but it really was. Tom Brady came out and said, fine, you can go ahead and check our balls. No pun intended there. You can go ahead and check our balls. No homo, I should have said. We'll be under more scrutiny than any other team in the league, and we're going to come out. And you know what they did? They steamrolled everybody they played and won the Super Bowl. This is the opposite of that. We accuse you of cheating, and then the moment we remove the thing that we think you're doing to cheat, your performance starts to decline. That's what you're watching right there with the Democrats, and she just admitted it on national television. So Texas, you've got all the Democrats in the state House and Senate in Texas, out of a protest for this, decided that they were going to flee the state, and they weren't going to allow a vote to come to the floor, which, by the way, is illegal in every state. This isn't the first time it's happened. It happened in Wisconsin a while back when there were some disputes going on. And they fled, ironically enough, to Illinois, which is the most gerrymandered state in the country, but like I said, rules for thee, not for me, just so happens to benefit the Democrats. So now they're saying that, so Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, comes out and says, hey, if you flee the state and you don't come back here by XYZ day, I'm going to arrest you. You're breaking the law. You're slowing down the democratic process, by the way, of this democracy that you hold so near and dear. You're hurting it. You need to get back here. And all the Democrats are chanting, oh, tyrant, he's acting like a dictator. Guys, you can't. No, Martin Luther King Jr. said you have a moral obligation to break a law that you truly believe is unjust. But at the same time, you have to be willing to accept whatever that punishment is. So you don't get to break the law knowing what the consequence is for breaking said law, then turn around and accuse them of tyranny when you get the consequence that you knew was coming the whole time. And they're not saying that the law against delaying the democratic process is unconstitutional. That's not what they're complaining about. They're complaining about what they believe to be gerrymandering, what we believe to be giving them a taste of their own medicine. So they're not even protesting that specific law. This would be like if they passed a law that said, I don't know, what's a good example here? If I didn't like stoplights, if I thought that stoplights were unconstitutional, so I hopped on the interstate and I drove 100 miles an hour out of town to protest stoplights, and I got pulled over and I went, "How dare you ticket me? You tyrant!" Yes, I broke a completely different law that has nothing to do with this out of protest, but this is proof that you're acting like a dictator by enforcing a law that's been on the book for centuries and been used against both parties on numerous occasions. Tyrants! Well, this is Jolanda Jones. She's a Democratic representative in the state of Texas. Here's what she had to say about all this.
And then integration happened and everybody thought they accept us. They don't accept us. They are showing us who they are. We should believe them. And we better have the courage to stand up. Otherwise, we will fall for anything. And in this country, we will be defeated, deported. I mean, we will lose all of our rights. And if you think it can't happen, it can. And I will liken this to the Holocaust. People are like, well, how did the Holocaust happen? How was somebody in a position to kill all them people? Well, good people remain silent. Or good people didn't realize that what happens to them can very soon happen to me or somebody I love. And so even if you made it, man, you have an obligation to help people who can't, because God forbid they end up targeting you and your family.
You didn't mishear that. The Holocaust. The Holocaust. They changed the way a couple of lines look on a map because they feel they've been gerrymandered for decades. And she likens it to the Holocaust. Now, a lot of folks on the left, if I went up on stage as a comedian and made a joke about the Holocaust, they would tell me it was in poor taste and I shouldn't be allowed to say that, and that venue shouldn't book me again. That's fine. You can have that opinion. I disagree with you on it. But but at the end of the day, that's a joke. It's not said with any malice behind it. It's simply an attempt at humor. But when they come out and in a serious tone, 100% serious, bastardize the Holocaust, water it down, diminish the meaning behind what actually happened and the pain that was actually experienced to prove a political point about congressional districts, that's okay. Do you want to know what this really is? Whenever a liberal brings up the Holocaust and they liken what the current regime's doing to what was happening under Nazi Germany, all this is projection. All this is projection. Because we've got all the power. We've got the courts, we've got the House, we've got the Senate, we've got the White House. And they can try to run with whatever nonsense narratives they want, but at the end of the day, they're still allowed to come out and say the garbage they spew. They're still allowed to pretend to be whatever gender they feel like when they wake up in the morning. Nothing has actually happened to people who aren't actively breaking the law, no matter which way they spin it. Nothing. And yes, there have been a couple mistakes with the ICE raids, but they're not going out and targeting groups of people that look a certain way or think differently than them. All this is projection. Because if they get this type of power, if God forbid they ever somehow manage to take back the White House, Senate, and House and then turn around and pack the Supreme Court, and they'll do it. They tried to. They didn't have the votes to get it done in the Senate, and it was unpopular. And they needed to worry about getting reelected. But God forbid, if they ever got to that, they would lock you the fuck up the second they got the chance to. The second. This ain't your grandma and grandpa's Democrat Party, all right? This ain't even the Democrat Party of 15 years ago. if these lunatics that have sat, you've got two types of, the base of the Democrat Party has been transformed into two types of people. You've got these 75-year-old geriatrics that have broiled their brains watching MSNBC nonstop all day, and they call their congressman's office daily asking what he's going to do to stop Trump. And then you've got these 25-year-old Zoomers and younger millennials, or 25 to 35-year-old Zoomers and millennials that have fried their brains on TikTok and Twitter and Facebook all day, and they sit there and they just doom scroll constantly. That's all they do. And it's just fear porn and Trump this, Nazi that, Hitler this. And it's all they consume. It defines them. And that's become the base of their party, is just unhinged old people and unhinged young people. And that's why and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show, but that's why they're driving so many of them away. So they've got this unhinged base that did not exist 15 years ago. These old people were not being exposed to the level of fear porn on MSNBC that they were, or that they are now. That wasn't happening during the Obama administration. They've taken people that, unfortunately, a lot of these people, they were working back then. They had families. They had things going on. Now they're retired and they have nothing to do. So they've taken these people and they've sat them in front of the TV. They watch 4 to 5 hours a day minimum of cable news, and then they spend another 2 to 3 on Facebook typing in all caps, yelling at people and just panicking. And they've transformed this generation of old people into lunatics. Absolutely, 100%. The way they have radicalized their base, if these people ever took over, they would make you face the fucking wall for voting differently than them. And I have no doubt about that in my mind. All right, let's go to the next segment here. Speaking of Hitler, speaking of Nazis, this has been blowing up. This has been blowing up all over. We've got this, Sydney Sweeney did her American Eagle ad, and the left said it was a Nazi dog whistle. These people are just unhinged. And here she is getting heckled at an event recently.
About the ad that is being racist. Stop the ad that is being racist.
So here's the thing. I'm not one of those people that thinks George Soros is the big bad boogeyman funding every single left-wing protest. Mia, correct me if I'm wrong. Chime in here. That has to be a paid agitator, right? You can't tell me people have so little going on in their lives that in the middle of the day they can drop everything to go and protest a Blue Jeans commercial.
I'm sure there are.
Oh my.
There's gotta, I'm sure there's people that'll do that.
Oh my God. And again, it just points back to how unhinged their base has become. I'm not going to sit here and deny that there's unhinged conservatives. Believe me, I see you guys every Saturday morning in the Rumble live chat. We just don't acknowledge you. Some of you message me at odd hours of the night with unhinged conspiracy theories and 3,500 pages worth of documents that I'm not going to read. All that aside, and you go on profanity-laced tirades when I don't acknowledge you. All that aside, the left's base has gone nuts. And the right, albeit stupidly, there's some folks on the right that have decided they were going to try to troll the liberals. So here's an image. This is what some white girls white conservative women on Twitter have decided to start doing. It's just a picture. They've started posting pictures like this, striking the HH salute. We all know what that one is. I don't have to go into detail about it. That's enough. Here's my thing. Before we get into this and we break down this phenomenon, let me give you a little disclaimer.
There's a lot of things that I love about Hitler.
That was really good timing, but that was not my disclaimer. Thank you. I'll give you a disclaimer. I think that's stupid. I would never strike a Nazi. I'm serious. I would never strike a Nazi salute. I don't like Nazis. I think Hitler was, at the absolute worst, a dictator and a murderer. And at the absolute best case scenario, a murderous dictator. And at the absolute worst case scenario, a murderous dictator that was also a satanic pedophile drug addict. So there's that. Okay, we got that. By the way, all you crystal girls out there that get all pissed off at the stuff we say on this show because we're on the right, if you look into Hitler's religious beliefs, you're going to find out that you and Hitler have a lot more in common than you think. Hitler used Christianity because he knew that Christianity was the predominant religion in Germany. back in the 1930s and 40s. So he used that, he bastardized it to come to power. Didn't mean he actually believed in Christianity. If you look into eyewitness accounts and a lot of different documents they found about the Nazis, Adolf Hitler was pretty big into the moon and the stars control our temperament, and my moods can be affected by my horoscope, and crystals have healing power, and all the occult bullshit. He was also a vegan art student. In fact, I would go as far to say if Hitler was alive today, he would have a septum piercing.
I'm just imagining Hitler getting the daily newspaper and looking for his horoscope.
Hitler getting his horoscope out? You're a tad bit irritable today. So that's caused the freak out. So there is a woman who is the director of the Nebraska Republican Party communications department. So she handles all the, I believe, correct me if the Nebraska Republican Party, who I know the chair of. They're more than willing to, she'll text me if I get this wrong. But the comms director is the one, you see the press releases come out and whatever. Here's the picture she posted with Megan Hunt's response to it. But here, this is, yeah, pull it up. First off, the girl has a very unfortunate last name. We can all acknowledge that. Haley McAnally, not a good last name. She posted this picture with her dog. It says dog momming it today. Now, I'm not 100% up to date on suburban white girl lingo, but I'm pretty sure that's not a Nazi salute. Mia, maybe you could add more to this. That doesn't look like a Nazi salute to me. Does that look like one to you?
Not really.
No. I see girls doing that all the time. A couple of years ago, that was like the millennial female pose. They do something like that. It's like the slay queen look. But so Nebraska State Senator Megan Hunt, quote tweets it, says, "Did you get the views, Haley? Did you get the clicks? Did you get the engagement? Here's the Nebraska GOP comms director and Omaha Young Republican chair throwing a Roman, as the young Nazis say." So she posted that. So I think we should remind Megan Hunt of this image of her from a couple of years ago. I guess if we're going to set holding the dog even, if we're going to set the precedent that anytime somebody lifts their arm up into the air, that's a Nazi salute, then that's got to apply across the board. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. That's got to apply across the board. Now, by the way, speaking of Megan Hunt, she was grandstanding about the tariffs, talking about the thousands and thousands of dollars that she's had to add on to prices or her businesses had to eat, and on Twitter, and people were correctly responding, saying, well, maybe stop selling cheap Chinese shit in your store. And then another one of her regular customers replied and said, she doesn't sell Chinese shit. This right here was made in Lincoln. It's like, okay. So why are you charging people extra for the tariffs then, XXX Meg? That's what we call her, because that may or may not have been a webcam name of hers back in the day. We don't know. Here's the thing with this. The left created this, and I told you they would. Do I think that now, the third picture, that was not a Nazi salute? That's not what she was trying to do. It was an unfortunate gesture, and I will say this. I think as communications director, especially at a time when you've got people looking to score political points and dunk on you, saying that everything is a Nazi racist dog whistle, probably not the best idea. You should probably be a little bit more careful of the things you post. But again, like I said, that's the suburban white girl post. It's ingrained in their souls to pose like that. So I don't even think she was probably second nature. But you still should know better, and you still, if you're in an official position like that, should vet the things you post. Here's the thing. I don't think she's going to step down. She may be tired of all the bullshit and say this is enough, because she's been in a number of these. Mia, if she steps down, should I run to be the new Nebraska Republican Party communications director?
Yes.
Could you imagine my press releases? My press releases would cause more controversy than the controversial news story that my press release was supposed to be about. Could you imagine? It's like, last night, one of our elected officials decided to act like a fucking retard and drive home from the bar instead of getting an Uber. I guess he was too much of a broke bitch to afford the $25 ride home. Fucking loser, couldn't stay with a buddy for the night. Just going off on him. Imagine how much trouble I would get him in. But you know what? Maybe that's an effective PR strategy, Nebraska Republican Party. Maybe if you elect me to be the comms director, you will be able to get I'll be able to shoulder all of the negative attention, all of the bad juju that comes from whatever press clippings people are going after you. They'll ignore the people that the actual news story and the actual controversy was originally centered around, because they'll be so focused at being outraged at me. And I thrive on that type of hatred because I know what makes those people cheer. It brings me joy to know they hate me. So anyway, the left created this, and these people are trolling them. And I don't think it's a funny troll. I don't think it's something that any of you should do, but they created this. They've cried wolf at every retriever, spaniel, and chihuahua they've seen for the last 15 years, calling it a Nazi. Anyone who disagreed with them 10 years was a Nazi. They created this. And now people are done. Because for a while, people denied it. Because they weren't actually Nazis. You'd call someone a Nazi because they wanted to own a gun or have lower taxes, and that was enough to end someone. You get that label. You get enough people calling you Nazi, people got scared. And they just shut up and they went away. And then people started denying it. They go, "What? I'm not a Nazi. What are you talking about?" And they started fighting back a little bit. And this was always going to be the natural conclusion, which is kind of my theory on it, which is what I've always said is if I don't care about your opinion, and there's probably 15 people on this planet whose opinions of me I actually care about. If I don't care about your opinion, to quote Eminem, I am whatever you say I am. If I wasn't, then why would I say I am? In the paper, the news every day I am. Radio won't even play my jam. But no, I am whatever you say I am. If you're going to call me this and that and I don't care about your opinion, that's fine, dude. I'm not going to argue. Oh, you're a racist. Yep, you figured it out. You figured it out. I want my own interracial marriage to be illegal. You figured it out, retard. Congratulations. Oh, you're a homophobe. Yep, I guess I am. Sure. That's but that's the thing. When everyone's been a Nazi. Now we're at, like I said, the inevitable conclusion where people are just going to mockingly agree with you. And they're not actual Nazis, but they're just going to embrace the label to fuck with you because it's beyond parody. And that's all it is a joke at this point when you call everybody a Nazi. I mean, think about it. They called Oliver Anthony released that song we played on the air a couple years ago, "The Rich Men North of Richmond." Didn't mention race once in the song. It was a populist anthem about politicians and corporate elites trampling on the working man. And they called him a Nazi for it. Sydney Sweeney poses in an ad for blue jeans, and they call her a Nazi for it. Kanye West? No, I'm kidding. I go to the No Kings protest incognito just to observe and get some images, which we shared on the air, these unhinged lunatics. And I get called a Nazi because I'm wearing a crucifix necklace that's smaller than my pinky fingernail. This is the boy, the they, them who cried Nazi. You all look nuts. You look paranoid and crazy. You've been playing whack-a-Nazi for the last 10 years, and people are finally just making fun of you for it. You look unhinged. The average person is going to find what those first two girls did to be poor taste, and they're going to go, you know what? That's a very small minority of the population. It doesn't represent a lot of people, and that was wrong, and they shouldn't have done it. But they're going to look at the way you've all freaked out and tried to drag the third one through the mud and say, oh, you people are nuts. You're grasping at straws trying to score political points. You don't actually care about fighting real Nazis, or you wouldn't be focusing so much on this. You're just crazy. That's all there is to it. And it's going to bite you in the ass yet again in the long run. Maybe not the short term, and I'll tell you why in a little bit, but in the long run. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is going to be a funny one. This is a funny one. So there is a massive beef going on between right-wing female influencers on the Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And it all started with this first tweet. There's like 7 parts to it. We're going to be quicker than it looks. But it started with this first tweet. Pull this first one up here. From Sarah Stock. She's a right-wing influencer. Posts a picture of her engagement ring in a field of flowers. And it just says with the caption, I won. So she got engaged. She's celebrating about it. And then Pearl Davis comes in. And Pearl Davis is a right-wing female influencer that really hates women. Like, we joke about abolish the 19th Amendment. She actually believes it. I don't know if it's a grift or if she's just trying to rile people up. But she says, hottest right-wing e-girl taken off the market. Conservative women will always use their marriage and family to build their brand. Maybe the influencers will. I don't know if that's a fair take. Maybe the influencers will, but I don't think the average Republican woman who is just raising her kids, and maybe she has a job, maybe she doesn't, I don't think she's concerned about her brand. I think she's concerned with raising her children by the right values and principles, but that could just be me. So then this Sarah Stock girl replies to Pearl Davis and says, once you stop getting ran through by black guys, it could happen to you too. Now, the thing with Pearl, if you got to know the lore on this, I once went down a YouTube rabbit hole about her. She, like, moved in with this guy who was a black guy from the internet that she had known for, I think, like a couple of months, and it fell apart, and it was disastrous, and it was this whole thing. So she is probably behaved in ways that she makes fun of other women for behaving like. Here's the fourth one, so it gets better. Another right-wing influencer called Emily Saves America says it's going to be hard to be a trad wife when your man can't even afford a ring. How do you guys expect to have a house, land, multiple kids? What is BFFR?
Be fucking for real.
Oh, see, I don't know the youth lingo. I'm not as up to date I'm not as hip as Mia. Says, I hope y'all enjoy working. Sorry, I'm MIA. I'm in the Hamptons. Sarah Stock says it's going to be hard to be a trad wife when you're pushing 30 with a triple-digit body count thinking you deserve a millionaire. So the girls are fighting. The claws are out on this one. The claws. So I looked into this Emily Saves You. She's a conservative influencer. They're all conservative grifters. They're all being... This is just Mean Girls like in high school. That's all this is, right? But she evidently, allegedly, she was at the TPUSA concert, the TPUSA convention, which is a turning point. It's a big conservative organization. According to the lore, and we don't have proof of this, she got finger banged in the hotel lobby at this convention. That's what everyone seems to believe here. I don't know. I find the ring comment to be, what do you, as a woman, how do you feel about the comment about your man can't even afford a ring? Do you think that was a low blow? Do you think it's got some merit to it? Not everyone wants a fancy ring.
Yeah, and I mean, just because, let me go back to it. I mean, so it looks like it has diamonds on the band. Mm-hmm. So that probably did cost a little extra pretty penny there. It does look like a nice ring. It doesn't look like a cheap ring.
Is there such thing as a bad ring? That's the question I'm going to ask. I mean, is there anything that's like a shitty ring? They've all got diamonds on them. They're all worth way more than they should be.
Yes, there definitely is.
Do you think that if a man doesn't spend X amount of money on an engagement ring, do you think that's a sign he's broke? Do you automatically assume that?
No.
Some people don't want a flashy ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people don't want a flashy ring. That's you weren't one of them. But that's...
No, I mean, I don't think they're broke. I just think maybe honestly, it depends on the person.
Sure.
I can't make generalizations because not everyone wants to spend that much on a ring. People have different priorities.
Right.
That was one of my priorities, was the ring.
Oh, we know.
Yes. Now, I mean, everyone's different though, so I can't.
You'll flash your ring for the camera? No, don't do that. No. I don't want people. No. I don't want people to know what we have.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's hard to say though, because everyone's different. You can't make generalizations like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is
it is easy to say if it's a pretty ring or an ugly ring, though. And this is a very pretty ring.
The engagement, it's minimalist, right?
Yeah.
The engagement ring is one of the few things. Like, I remember when I was talking a couple months ago about weddings for men. And for women, this is their Super Bowl. For men, this is like a preseason game. We're just happy to be on the field playing ball. Like, it's we don't want anything to go wrong, but we're just going to kind of go with the flow. It's a party. It's a big party, but it's a party. We understand some things are not going to go according to plan. It is what it is. For women, everything must go 100% according to plan. The ring is different because men, I feel like, at least I can speak from my perspective, men, we do have a little bit of skin in that game, because I think there are people that judge us when they see our woman has a tiny engagement ring on her finger, and they go, "Oh, that guy's broke. That guy couldn't afford any more than that." And of course, that's not always the case. Some people, like we said, there's some people that, I mean, yeah, maybe they've got a wedding ring that's worth 1/10 of a big nice one, and it's, they have 300 acres of land, and that's what they wanted. But I feel like as a man, that's kind of a flex for us too. We want, what I'm talking about? We want it to look nice because we don't want to look broke. That's the thing, is a man, whether you like it or not, I'm not saying you're less of a man if you don't make X amount of money, but men historically have been providers. And being able to put a fuck you ring on your wife's finger is a sign that you can come up with a big chunk of change in a short period of time.
Well, you always get the comments that you did good.
You picked it.
Yeah, but you got it. Like, you actually bought it.
Yeah, no, I bought, yeah. Here's a fun fact. I bought her money with comedy money, or her ring with comedy money. That's the only thing that paid for it was comedy money. And so I'll always have that, is that, and I'm not going to tell you guys how much it costs. We're not going to show it either. But I'll always have that. I'll be able to put that on my shoulder. I'll be able to stand on that business that I paid for her engagement ring by being an asshole, by being funny. I'll always have that. And that's just kind of a little thing for me. So the engagement ring is the one thing that's almost as much for men as it is for women. Not as much, because she likes to show her nicer ring off to all her friends and make fun of them. And Mia, you should see Mia when she's around other women that are married or engaged or recently engaged. She turns into a female Andrew Tate. She starts throwing it in their face, calling them brokies and losers and sorry your man rides the bus to work. I mean, just full blown. Okay, let's go to the next picture here. This saga continues, the fifth one, where there's only 6. Says so some guy says to this Emily Saves America, your unwed, childish Fox News girl boss who complains when women make sourdough now hates on ring size of a happy, engaged young woman. She replies back to him, between allegedly cheating on your wife, being caught with a dildo up your ass, killing a teenager with your first of 2 DUIs, you really should sit this one out. Everyone is being incredibly nasty. I don't want to hear anyone talking about me punching down after that's half the reason I brought this thread up. So no one could ever say I go too far ever again, or that I'm too mean. Go to the last one here. Just bringing up this guy's dirty laundry. Someone says, Morgan Ariel replies to Emily Saves America. You give it up for free, ho. Might want to sit this one out. Emily Saves America. Morgan, your baby daddy abandoned you and you're raising a bastard child. But somehow, some way, you think you're better than me or anyone on this app. You gave it up for free, got left in the dust, and now post rage bait on X to supplement the inadequacy of your monthly child support payments. They're not even being funny. This is just mean. This is just angry.
How does she know all of these people's dirty laundry?
I don't know who these people are. I recognize, I think, one name out of everything we went down there. And that was because Pearl had her moment of being famous. I've never heard of any of these people. I don't know how she has this extensive background information on all of them. Also, if I were a female influencer and my baby daddy left me in the dust, abandoned me after a wedlock child, and was fucking around on his child support payments, you guys wouldn't know. I wouldn't tell anyone that. The CIA couldn't get that information out of me. I would take it to my fucking grave. I would Photoshop or use AI to put my so-called husband in the pictures with me if I needed to use my child to be my brand. I mean, it's, again, I did this segment just to prove that I don't take it near as far as some of you think. I don't go near as far as some of you guys think. And this is, girls are nasty. You guys take low blows at each other. Men would never, you know why men would never do that? You know why a man would never go that low on a guy he knows or a guy there's a decent chance he's going to run into in public? Because they all run in the same circles. Because you'd get punched in the fucking mouth if you said that. Like, if I'm going to say something like that goes that, I'm not just like, not just a petty insult at your appearance or calling you a dumbass or anything like that. If I'm going to cut that deeply at people as a man, specifically people that run in similar circles to me, or people that are near me that I know, whatever the case may be, I better be damn well ready to defend myself the next time I see him, because there's about a 40 to 60% chance the next time that guy sees me, he may not hit me right on spot, but he's going to tell me, let's go talk outside. So if I'm going to be willing to go that deep, to cut that deep and get that dirty and nasty with people, I better be ready to fight. Women don't do that. They'll exclude each other. They'll spread rumors and talk about each other behind their backs, and sometimes in public like that, say really nasty, hurtful things, because women hurt with their words, men hurt with their hands. And at the end of the day, it's a lot easier to heal a physical injury than an emotional one. That's why women are so much more dangerous than men. Because if I punch you in the mouth or if I punch you in the face and I break your nose, my hand's probably going to be fucked up too. But your nose will heal. And you can forgive me for that a whole lot easier than you can me bringing up the fact that you killed a guy with a teenager with a DUI, or cheated on your wife, or bring up all kinds of nasty, dirty laundry that maybe you're a different person than when that happened and you're now trying to move on from. If I say, hey man, I was wrong to punch you in the nose, you might still be kind of pissed at me, but you're like, you know what? My nose healed. Nobody died. Let's just let it go, man. That's why it takes so long. That's why women will hold these grudges since like junior high school. Because they don't just duke it out. If women would just fight each other, the world would be a whole lot more civil and peaceful of a place. Okay, let's go to the next one. Speaking of peace, Nebraska's 1st District Representative Mike Flood knows no peace. Mike Flood held a town hall. Mike Flood used to be my congressman. Mia, did you vote for Mike Flood? I think you did. I think I voted for the Libertarian because I'm not a fan of Mike Flood. Mike Flood, in my opinion, he's a Republican, but he's a neocon, warhawk, George Bush era seller. I'm not a fan of Mike Flood, okay? However, he did not deserve what he got in this town hall. Mike Flood held this town hall, and a bunch of liberals knew it was going to happen. And they know this guy, and again, you probably shouldn't get into politics if you can't handle the heat like this. He's not exactly the best public speaker, and you're going to see what I mean. Because you really don't have to be when you're in a heavily conservative district like he is. Although that district's getting a little bit more purple. So they get this guy. He's kind of awkward, not a great talker. Probably doesn't. He was appointed to his seat, kind of had it handed to him. Doesn't do well under pressure. And they start asking him questions. And here's the first one. He gave a little spiel on healthcare. Here's how it was handled.
Talks about 2 big changes.
Hold on, pause that.
To the Medicaid program.
Do you notice right off the bat how he's trying to talk and they're just screaming over him? They're not even, again, I don't agree with everything this guy says, But you can't go to his town hall and not give him the opportunity to speak. That's unhinged. Go ahead.
One of those changes is that if you are able to work and you are able-bodied, you have to work. If you choose not to work, you do not get free health care. You do not get free health care.
Look at these losers.
Okay. So here's a question. Do you think that people who are 28 years old that can work and refuse to work should get free health care? I don't think that a majority of Nebraskans agree with you.
I mean, he kind of did himself in. What did he think was going to happen? When he says something, they all boo, and then he just repeats what he said in the form of a question. What do you think they're going to do? Like, that was, again, that's what I'm talking about. These nerds that don't know how to speak in public, that get handed these positions. I mean, the guy looks like Harry Potter is like 25 years older and let himself go. That's what he looks like up there, with no charisma. I mean, the guy's got the fucking charisma of my drywall I'm looking at right now. It's ridiculous. So, we all know how I feel about that. That's a ridiculous policy point that they're pushing, they being the people in the audience. It's absurd. The guy says, you're 28 years old, you can work, and you just choose not to work. Should the taxpayers who go to work pay for your health care? Of course they shouldn't. Of course they shouldn't. There's no reason we should. You're more than welcome to do nothing all day, but you're on your own. That's not exclusive to American society. That's not a new concept. Every society throughout history that has had any amount of success has been built around the concept of, if you are an able-bodied adult who chooses not to work, who chooses not to contribute in some way, shape, or form, who chooses not to fend for himself and take care of himself, we don't owe it to you to come together and take care of you. It's not like you're a handicapped person who's in this situation through no fault of their own. You don't have Down syndrome. You're not paralyzed from the neck down. You're just lazy. You want to sit in your parents', or in some case, your spouse's parents' basement, smoke weed, and play video games all day while you suck off the welfare system like the worthless leech you are.
Loser! You're a loser!
If you want to do that, all of that's fine, and it's between the parties that are involved until it gets to the point where I have to subsidize that. Absolutely not. This is not a new concept. If you can pull your own weight and you just choose not to, we're gonna leave you behind. That's all there is to it, and I don't feel bad about it. Oh, but what if I get sick? You know what? If you're able-bodied and choose not to work, maybe you should fucking die. I don't know what to tell you. I don't... Is that harsh? Yes, but I think we've gotten so soft that we need a little bit of harsh rhetoric here. Here was the next reasonable question someone asked Congressman Flood at this town hall. Go ahead.
My question is fiscal. With 450 million FEMA dollars being reallocated to open Alligator Alcatraz and 600 million taxpayer FEMA dollars being used to now open more concentration camps, and ICE burning through $8.4 million a day to illegally detain people, how much does it cost for fascism? How much do the taxpayers have to pay for a fascist country?
Well, she seems nice. Like a friendly gal right there. That's, look, there's an image of her. We got to still pull that one up. That's the face of modern liberalism right there. That's, okay. Here's the thing. These people are not interested in dialogue. They're not. They're not interested in debate. They're not interested in hearing out the other side. They're interested in being bullies. They're interested in shouting you down, in censoring you, in asking you loaded bad faith questions, which is exactly what that was. You can ask all the questions about the budget and say, how do you justify it when X, Y, and Z is happening? But the second you just tie it to fascism, it's a bad faith question. He has no way to answer it. Specifically, not because people are just going to scream over him the whole time. They're not interested in having a conversation with you. They're interested in drowning you out. They don't care to hear what you have to say. I don't understand why we continue to extend the olive branch out to people who are acting in bad faith. And I said this when we talked about the Gavin Newsom thing. I have no problem bringing people on from the other side and having conversations. But the key is they have to come on here in good faith. You have to be willing to, you may not be on here to change your opinion, but you have to be willing to hear out why I believe the way I do. And if you can't do that, there's no sense in talking to you because it's going to be a waste of everybody's time, and you're going to claim to be a prophet on a divine mission from God to turn America into a communist country like the Congo because you think that's been such a success over there. Nonetheless, we have to stop engaging with bad actors. That's all there is to it. And this is the problem here. When we engage with bad actors, what we are doing is we're giving them campaign fodder. Now, you may sit here and go, Caleb, you said earlier on in the show when they act unhinged like this, it runs the average voter away. And that would be correct. Two things can be true at once, though. What you have to realize is who they're trying to appeal to and who the target market is for what they're doing depends on what the calendar says. Right now, it's August of 2025. You don't have a presidential election for another 3 years and 3 months, right? So what you've got some off-year elections in 2025, some special elections, and then coming up are the 2026 midterms. Typically, not typically, always, those types of elections have lower turnout. And the lower turnout elections tend to, the people that vote in them tend to be the people who are more politically involved, who also tend to be the more polarized and partisan members of each side. So they're not trying to appeal to the middle right now. When a president, did you see how quickly they tried, people like Gavin Newsom that have their eyes set on something beyond 2025, like the presidential race, are trying to position themselves to the center? Because they've got something else in mind. The people that are trying to win the midterms and the people that are trying to win these special elections in 2025, they understand that they have to rally their base. And we have to view things not just as different viewpoints, but from different perspectives. From the perspective of the average, unhinged, crazy progressive that's going to walk up to me and call me a Nazi because I have a crucifix around my neck, which actually happened, to that person, they eat this shit up. They love to see this. This plays well with them. This engages them. It gives them, like I said, fodder. It fuels them to get out and get active and cause some chaos and vote in these midterms. Now, when we get closer to the presidential election, they're going to stop advertising these people. They're going to stop setting these crazies up because they want to seem more rational, because they need the moderates to win. They lost a bunch of them in 2024, and that's what happened. But right now, this is their goal. They don't care if it runs off moderate Democrats. They don't care if it runs off independents. They'll deal with that in 3 years. That's not the problem right now. This rallies the base. It may not make sense to you. I know we have we have a mixed audience. We have we have hardline conservatives, we have moderates, we have libertarians. We even have some blue dog Democrats that listen to the show. That doesn't make sense to you. You see that and you go, what the hell are these unhinged lunatics doing? But it's not supposed to make sense to you. You are not the target audience. The target demographic is the lunatic fringe that has hijacked that party. And that's what happens. When you don't put the lunatic fringe down, that's what happens, is you get people like that who take your party over. And that's what's happened. The Republicans shut their lunatic fringe down. I've talked about this. When's the last time you've heard about the alt-right? What far right? I'm not talking like MAGA. I'm talking borderline Nazi, Ku Klux Klan type psychopaths have any say in how the Republican Party's run. Now compare that to the Democrats. They have let the communists and they have let the violent Antifa lunatics hijack their party because they didn't put that insurgency down when they should have. And now they have to reap what they've sown. And it may play well in the midterms because you got to have the base. But I'm telling you, if they continue to behave this way, and they're playing with fire right now, if they continue to let this crap happen and they continue to push this, while it may help them right now, long term, it's going to ensure that they never win another presidential election again. That's what you're going to see here. Let's go to the next one here. Something that a lot of people probably could have used growing up, which was Donald Trump is bringing back the presidential fitness test in schools. He got rid of that in 2013 under Barack Obama because we didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and we're bringing it back. That's right, Obama just contributing to weak people. That's a regular occurrence here. It's a trend throughout history, throughout his presidency. Someone like Eric Swalwell might need it. This is Eric Swalwell. He's a Democrat rep from California who was fucking a Chinese spy, still remained on the Intelligence Committee. We have no idea. This doesn't really have anything to do with it, but I thought we'd show you this video because the Democrats are really trying to play to men, and he thought that this would work here. Go ahead, check this out.
I should be working right now. I should be at the Capitol. I should be in a suit. Instead, Republicans sent us home because they would rather stand up for Donald Trump than release the Epstein files and stand up for victims. We could be at Washington, D.C., lowering your healthcare costs, lowering your grocery costs, and restoring your rights. I should be working right now. Instead, I'm pumping iron at the gym.
Pumping iron like a man. Working at the gym. So we joke about Democrats can't bench press their own weight, and then they find a way to somehow make bench pressing look feminine. They find a way. First off, the guy's about to die throwing 135 up. You can hear him. You can barely get a word out. That was the last rep he had in him. I guarantee it. Again, it just shows how out of touch they are with people. 135. Listen to me, buddy. 135 pounds. Somewhere in this country, there is a 14-year-old defensive end on a freshman high school football team that is warming up with that in the weight room as we speak. And I know that kid because that kid was me. That kid was me. It took me at 14 years old. I had lifted casual weights with my dad and my grandpa, but you really shouldn't, your kids shouldn't be lifting weights before 14 because it'll stunt their growth. But I had never lifted heavy or seriously. It took me about 3 months in the weight room in high school to be able to throw 135 pounds up. And he's on there throwing it like it's some symbol of his masculinity. I'm not here to brag, and I'm stronger than the average dude, right? Like you pick a guy off the street, I guarantee I'm stronger than him in most cases. But I'm not like Mr. America. I'm not a bodybuilder or anything like that. I don't claim to be one. And I'm not here to brag. I haven't touched 135 pounds on the bench press since high school. Oh, no, I take that back. There was one time I was coming off a really bad neck injury from my car accident, and I had to lift light to get back into, to ease back into it. So I was doing it back then. I don't even warm up with that anymore. And he's trying to pitch this as some sale of his masculinity. Mia, you've called me while I've been at the gym, and I've picked up in the middle of benching more than that guy was, significantly more than that guy was, and you didn't even know, and he's there about to die out of breath. Okay, I'm done. Okay, so they're bringing back the presidential fitness test, and I like it. What do you think? Are you a fan of bringing it back? Did you have to do it in the private schools, the pacer and the push-ups and all that?
Yeah, we had to do it.
How many push-ups did you do?
I don't know. That was in grade school. I don't remember that.
How many push-ups can you do right now?
Probably 0.
Oh, that's not true. Girl push-ups.
Girl push-ups?
Girl push-ups.
Oh, that'd be easy. Regular push-ups, probably like 5.
Are we allowed to call them girl push-ups?
I call them girl push-ups.
Okay, good.
We called them girl push-ups in high school.
They're girl. That's we shouldn't allow women to skirt by. Anyway, that's aside from the point. I like the presidential fitness test because it's unique in the sense, of course, it's not going to solve obesity and weakness. There were always fat and weak kids. But it's unique in the sense that it shames kids into being healthier. Like, we know who the fat and scrawny kids are. We all know. You see them every day when you go to school. The difference is they get reminded in front of all their classmates that they're either fat or weak. That's the important part. And while, of course, it's not going to fix everything, like I said, what it will do is it's going to take maybe a handful of them. They're going to say, I don't like this, and they're going to make a change. Because sometimes public shame and embarrassment is the only way to get people to stop making bad life decisions. It's why interventions for drug addicts and alcoholics are so effective. Because sometimes people just need to feel like a fucking idiot in front of their friends and family to stop doing the thing they're doing. We had the presidential fitness test when I was in school, and then in 4th grade, once you got to 4th grade, you started doing a pull-up test, right? And I remember in 4th grade, I was nervous. I'd never done a pull-up. And you guys that work out, pull-ups are like their own thing. You can work your back out twice a week, and if you're not doing pull-ups, even as a grown man, like specifically targeting pull-ups, be lucky if you can get 5 to 10 of them. So I went on, and I couldn't get a single pull-up. And then my dad, I was humiliated. I couldn't do any pull-ups. My friends are up there cranking like 9 or 10 of them out. So what happened? My dad put a pull-up bar in the doorway at our house. And I started cranking them out year round. Every time I walked by, I'd just do 2 or 3 pull-ups. And then 2 or 3 became 5. And then 5 became 10. And by the time the 5th grade pull-up test rolled around, I cranked out more than anybody else in my class. Except this one really scrawny kid who worked out, or not scrawny, but he's light, and he worked out with his dad who's probably on steroids all the time. I think he might have beat me. But everybody else I beat. Because that's what the presidential fitness test does. No, not everyone. Some people just didn't care. They did the thing and it was whatever. But some people, they took that to heart. Man, I can't do a single pull-up. Maybe some kid out there is like, man, I can't even do 10 push-ups. And that kid's going to bust ass all summer. And he's going to come back and he's going to do 70 push-ups. If we can do that, it's worth it. That's the best way to get people sometimes to improve their lives. It's not the ideal way because it involves humiliation and shame, but sometimes it's the only way. Okay, we got a couple more here. King of the Hill is back. Return of the King. Mia, what'd you think of the reboot?
I liked it.
Besides Dale's voice, which you told me was actually the real actor who had a stroke, right?
Yeah, it was like a stroke. He had some like medical thing. It was the first 6 episodes was him.
They all sounded bad.
Yeah.
I hope they bring someone in for the next season that sounds like Dale. I could do a better Dale than that.
Well,
I'm available, by the way, if you're hiring.
I was watching like a side by side, and you can kind of tell the difference between when the actual actor stops and then when they brought in the voice actor that did Cotton to do the rest of it.
Oh, okay. That was probably just on a whim because they didn't have time.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. He was Khan, but they got rid of that.
So I liked it. I was worried that it was going to be wokeified, and there were a few moments where it was like, yeah, but I think they did a good job at poking fun at both sides. Wouldn't you agree? It's very self-aware humor. Mm-hmm. It's not SNL corporate approved bullshit, but it also does point out that sometimes we as folks on the right tend to take things a little too far. So there's an article on Cracked about a specific episode from Keegan Kelly, the author. King of the Hill, this is the headline, just hit the Joe Rogan types below the belt. The manosphere believes that America's facing a masculinity crisis, and the day will come when only the manliest, strongest, most successful, and most misogynistic men will survive. For their sakes, let's just hope that day isn't leg day. In the newly released revival series or season of King of the Hill, Hank and Peggy have the unenviable task of adjusting to the new norms of life at a red state in 2025 America after an extended stay outside the country. So it's already, this article's operating in bad faith. A red state. It's got the majority of the jokes about their return to the United States, I felt, I don't know about you, were at the expense of liberals.
Yeah.
Almost exclusively. There were other jokes about conservatives we'll get into in a minute.
Are
but
we all gender?
Yeah, the all gender about there was nothing to do with they came back to this MAGA Trump blah blah blah. It says, while Hank is still the same red-blooded Republican Texan that he was before he went to Saudi Arabia, he came back to Arlen to find the rest of the right to be very different from how he left them. So I think this person watched it and then just made up their own plot line to it. Did I miss an episode where, other than the one we're going to talk about in a second here, where he's around these crazy lunatic conservatives? Did I miss something?
Unless we fell asleep during an episode.
Yeah. It says, a Bush Republican like Hank may believe that America's men need to return to traditional values to bring about a revival in masculinity. But in the age of President Donald Trump, who the show mentions 0 times, by the way. Great. It was refreshing. I'm tired of hearing about it. And his podcaster buddies, all those words have very different political charge meanings. And the Joe Rogan definition of masculinity doesn't have the legs to pass the Hill test. So there's an episode in this where he takes Good Hank, his half-brother, to this masculinity camp. And what is the 4 F-bombs? Faith, finances, family, and what's the other one? Fitness is what the guy's selling in the YouTube video. And the message of this show is, I think, a very effective one. Because it's the same thing I've been saying. And it's coming from the same type of person, which is what's needed to combat the message of an Andrew Tate. It points out what I often say, which is that the most dangerous lie is one that's coated in truth. And that's what Andrew Tate's problem is. The guy advertises faith, family, fitness, and finances. All positive things to have in line. And then they get there and they find out that the guy is just a lunatic who hates women and wants to oversimplify things and blame them for all the world's problems, and he's a grifter, which is essentially Andrew Tate. The guy was clearly an Andrew Tate parody. Clearly an Andrew Tate parody. There's no... in fact, you could watch this episode. It's immediately, you can tell from the second you see the commercial where they're going with it. It's never implied that it has anything to do with Rogan. Joe Rogan and Andrew Tate are 2 totally different people. There's 2 types of people that have opinions on Rogan. There's people that have only heard things and they've seen little clips on YouTube and TikTok and Twitter, and they've made up their mind about him because he doesn't subscribe to the same insanity that they do, and he is what he is to them. And then there's people that have actually listened to a show. Joe Rogan is not the toxic, over-the-top bravado that you see from Andrew Tate. Joe Rogan is actually very grounded. Yes, he values fitness, he values family, and he values curiosity. He is not a hateful person at all. And I know we'll get people in the comments, how could you say that? You're wrong. He's a Nazi. And those are the people that fit into that first group I just told you about. Guarantee you they've never listened to a full episode. This was about Andrew Tate. And the reason I found this episode to be as effective as it was is because it's what I've been saying. Unfortunately, and I say this as someone who is way right of center, Andrew Tate is not a good influence for young men. He's not. He says things that I agree with. He says things that make sense. But unfortunately, the things he gets wrong and the things he goes too far on, he goes way too far on and gets way wrong. And that's the problem, is we have no governor. We have no middle ground on anything. It has to be one of 2 extremes. You can either be Dylan Mulvaney or Andrew Tate, when, as we all know, 99.99% of the population is neither of those 2 lunatics. So this episode, it puts Hank Hill in here, and he's calling this guy out by the end of it for his bullshit. He says, hey, women aren't the problem. We absolutely need a return to traditional values and traditional masculinity where men take care of the problems and we're strong and we have our finances in order and we're respected by our families. But this guy takes it too far, which is the message I've been calling for. Anytime you see, other than myself, for the most part, but anytime you see somebody on TikTok or YouTube or whatever trying to call out Andrew Tate from a male perspective, not women, but from a male perspective, trying to say, hey, Andrew Tate is not somebody that young men should be following. It's somebody like Harry Sisson. It's some 115-pound twink who can't bench his own weight and has never been in a fist fight in his entire life. That's not effective to Andrew Tate's target demographic. The message needs to come from somebody like Hank Hill. Am I right? I see you nodding in agreement.
Yes.
What?
Just Just Hank Hill giving this message. That's
You know what?
That's what the young men need.
He's someone they respect. He's a red-blooded ex-high school football star Texan, Republican, gun owner. I mean, that's what people need to hear. It's that, hey, you don't have, just because you don't want to be a psychopath or just because you're not a psychopath like Andrew Tate, doesn't mean you have to be Tim Walz. There is a middle ground. You don't even have to go right in the middle of those two. You can lean more toward a Tate. I probably lean more toward Andrew Tate than I do toward Tim Walz. But I think he goes way too far on a lot of things. You don't have to be one of the two ridiculous extremes and caricatures. In fact, most people aren't. We all fall somewhere in the middle to varying degrees. Dry Creek Wrangler School is another perfect example of that. Rough and tough cowboy, touches the same issues, probably falls on the ideological sphere on the same spot as Andrew Tate in a lot of different ways, but the message isn't as insane. It's not as hostile, and it's not as, dare I say it, toxic. And that's exactly what they need. That's exactly what they need. These weirdos like Harry Sisson and Chris Mowry can go cry on Twitter about Andrew Tate all they want. But the only way you're going to get these men who are right of center and feel like society, rightfully so, by the way, feel that society has left them behind, the only way you're going to reach them is with a Hank Hill. So the message was exactly what young men needed. That's who they're going to listen to. They don't want to hear from Dylan Mulvaney. They don't want to hear from Tim Walz. They don't want to be lectured by women with worthless college degrees that feel like they can talk down to us because they were dumb enough to go get scammed for a degree they can't even use, and instead of admitting they got that wrong, they're just going to sit here and lecture us and act like they're smarter and superior. They don't want to hear from any of those people. They'll listen to Hank Hill. They'll listen to an old cowboy with a beard that's sitting out on his ranch smoking a cigar, drinking a coffee, just telling you about life. That's what people need to hear. And that's our show. We will see you guys on Monday for Unsolicited Advice. Remember, starting in September, we are axing the midweek check-ins, at least temporarily. Crooks and Books will be back. I have a paid appearance on that show, so I'm going to do it. And I already have way too much on my plate to be going live an extra at least one more time a week. So I am going to press the pause on the midweek show. What we'll probably do is move Unsolicited Advice to Wednesdays. And that way you'll get a little bit more spacing between episodes. Just got to prioritize some time management here. Other than that, we'll see you Monday. That's not going into effect for a little bit. And then shortly after that, I'll be in Vegas. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse. Stay based.
That's my purse. I don't know you.